Tonight we're discussing care home visits. Most of you will recognise our guest Leandra Ashton, of former Coronation Street fame. Leandra's mother was arrested for trying to take her mother out of a care home last year before the second lockdown was imposed. Here is the moment that Leandra's mother was arrested for removing her mum from the care home.
So let's just make this very clear. My nan, my 97-year-old nan here, who we have taken from the care home because we haven't seen her for 9 months, is now being taken back by force to her care home. My mother has been arrested. My mother is in the back of the car here. She is a nurse. She is a fully qualified nurse who is wishing to care for her own mother. And here we have an incredible use of police time to take my 97-year-old grandmother back into a care home where she is deteriorating, where we haven't been able to see her for 9 months. Nan, I love you and we are going to fight for you.
I mean, that's heartbreaking, right? I mean, Leandra and her mother have since formed an advice group for families and is now fighting for an end to time limits on care home visits, as some families are still being capped at visiting loved ones for just 30 minutes, even though the government has removed this time limit. Leandra now has growing also concerns for those in care homes suffering from loneliness, and she joins me now. Leandra, welcome to the programme.
Thanks very much, Nana.
I mean, it's such a sad scene, really. I mean, how is your nan now?
My nan's doing great. I mean, I haven't watched that video in so long now, and it still gets to me, particularly maybe even more so now, knowing how much she's improved now that she's out. So without that video going viral and without the huge amount of public support that we had and press interest, I don't think we would have been able to get her out, and I don't think she would have survived. But she's now turned 98. She's put on a huge amount of weight. She's a completely different colour. Her pallor is totally different. And it's just wonderful to have her back home with us.
So that's your nan now, is it, there with your mum?
Yeah, this is my nan doing a little bit of cooking with my mum, and she actually, here she responds, my mum says, "Do you remember you used to make schnitzels?" And my nan said, "See," which for someone with dementia is a huge moment, because most of the time they're not compos mentis, they don't have clarity. But in that moment when we were filming, she did actually say yes, you know, in Italian, in her mother tongue.
Oh, bless her. Isn't she lucky to have you guys there for her as well? Because it's not always the case with a lot of those in care homes.
Yeah, and this is what I think we found so shocking, and why we set up the support group and why we're building a campaign for lasting change within the care home system. Because, you know, we could have thought that we were just a one-off family dealing with the level of bureaucracy that we were, the lack of common sense, this kind of adherence to rules that were actually causing hurt and damage to our loved one. But we weren't alone. And when the video went viral, hundreds of people contacted us, so much so that we thought, we've got to do something about this. So there was an amazing woman called Sasha, who is an ex-social worker, and she helped us. She advocated on our behalf through seeing the video on Facebook, and helped us get my nan out of the care home. And it's together with her and other families, we formed this group, and she's gone on to help. She's kind of pretty much helped about 40 families, holding their hand through the process of either getting their loved one out of a care home or having proper access and having the human rights upheld.
So after that particular video that we saw, your nan was returned to the care home. You've talked about this lady who sort of helped. What was it that she was able to do to make it possible for your nan to be able to leave there?
Well, what basically happened after that video is that my mum and I went on a massive learning curve where we suddenly realised that there were all these human rights that were being violated across the country and are still being violated. Because it doesn't matter what level of emergency is going on in a country, everyone has an individual right to a family and to family life. And any restrictions that are put in place under the Mental Capacity Act also have to be the least restrictive measurements and measures. And there were what we learned very quickly from Sasha, with her social background and her expertise, was that these laws and this regulation that was in place wasn't being upheld either by the care home, by local authority or by the government. So we suddenly became empowered, and we were suddenly able to argue to get my nan home, and she helped guide us through what's called a best interests meeting.